think that Minnesota is just filled with liberals, but I got a question for you. Are there any conservatives here today? Now, some of you know I'm an old hockey player. I still play a little bit, but just today in the mail I got my ARP card. I turned 50 later this year. But here in Minnesota, we complain as conservatives and Republicans shorthanded. And I'm glad to see you sent the reinforcements. Thank you very much. Now, we live in this era where everybody wants a bailout. So I had a meeting the other day with this woman who ran a large organization. They're involved in finance and trade and lots of other things. And she came in my office and she said, "We're in trouble." And I said, "Well, what's the matter?" She said, "We're deeply, deeply in debt up to our ears. Our balance sheets are a mess. Our workforce is overpaid and it's underperforming. Nobody's buying what we're selling. There's going to be layoffs." And she said, "Even she could lose her job." I said, "But Speaker Pelosi, we don't do bailouts." If it helps, things are going to get a lot better come November. I want to talk to you today just for a minute about our beloved United States of America. This is a great nation, and it's a nation founded on certain principles and certain values, and you know what they are. They include, of course, the notion of a limited government. Principle of the rule of law, the importance of individual responsibility, and the importance of free markets. We are blessed to live in the strongest and most prosperous nation in the history of the world. There are no people anywhere, anytime that have enjoyed the abundance that we have enjoyed and been blessed with in this great nation. But now we live in a time where we have a federal government that owns 2 car companies. We have a federal government that owns the nation's largest insurance company. We have a federal government that owns or controls the entities that write almost all of the nation's mortgages, so they own or control the mortgage industry. They have now taken over the entire student loan industry. They own or control a wide swath of the entire banking industry in our nation. And as you know, just a short time ago, they've just taken over a large portion of the entire healthcare system in our country. Through misguided cap and trade and energy policies, they now want to get their fingers into energy policy in our country and take over the energy industry. I have just a question for you. Have you had enough? After all of this, and we've seen the great teleprompter language of hope and change, we now have state-sponsored companies that are too big to fail. We have a federal government that's too big to succeed. We have a government debt that's too big to pay off. And we have national leaders that are too small to do anything about it. So I ask you again, have you had enough? We now live in a country where Wall Street gets a bailout, the poor get a handout, and everybody else gets their wallet out. So I ask you, have you had enough? country where the President of France, let me repeat that, the President of France, Nicolas Sarkozy, lectures us on the dangers of appeasement. Have you had enough?
Yeah.
Well, I just want to close because I know we've got other speakers, but I want to leave you with one thought. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said that the measure of a person is not where they stand in times of comfort and privilege, but where they stand in times of challenge and controversy. We live in challenging and controversial times. Our constitutional rights and freedoms are under assault. American common sense is under assault. Our financial responsibilities have been disregarded and are under assault. The rule of law is being undermined and is under assault in this country. We now have a federal government who believes their powers are so broad and so deep that they can reach down to individual citizens and require you under the force and penalty of a fine to buy a good or a service, namely health care. I ask you, have you had enough? So it is time to fight back. I am delighted and honored to be here with two of our nation's great leaders, Governor Sarah Palin and Congresswoman Michelle.